ladies outnumber the men. Substantially outnumber the men. What happened? Who can say?
Premrati Mataji is leading with examples, so the Matajis are inspired.
Are you going to take that? Come on, give him a one. Come on back and give him another one.
Equality.
But they are inspiring. So.
Thank you.
Well, I heard an earful about you on the way over.
Oh, really?
It was all good stuff, I'll tell you. It was all good stuff. Good stuff, good stuff. He's this and he's that, he's the other thing, he's the other thing. Wow, wow, wow. Didn't mention your wife at all. I'm sure she's nice too.
No, I'm not married.
You're not married yet?
Yeah, we've had him since 30 years. So.
I heard that you like Radharani. But you can't marry Radharani. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschachate Satadine Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Considering that Gaur Purnima is early next week, this is maybe not the best topic. Kind of off-season or something. The reason for this topic is going back nearly a month, it was a topic. Because I like the prayers of Prahalad. There are many other nice prayers. But so you didn't complete it, and so I thought, let us see if we can complete it. That's what was the thought behind why this topic in advance of Gaur Purnima. Maybe we'll sneak some Gaur Purnima topics in somewhere. Is anybody new enough that you need a little background on who is Lord Nrsimhadev and who is Prahalad Maharaj, and a little background? Is anybody new enough that you need to hear some background? We're good to go. Okay. The chronology is several chapters leading up to, this is chapter 9 of Canto 7. So going back several chapters, Prahalad was born, while still in the womb, while Hiranyakashipu was off doing his austerities, he had taken over the heavenly kingdom. And so while he was away doing his austerities, the demigods took their kingdom back. And when they took their kingdom back, they found a pregnant wife of Hiranyakashipu. So they had a bad idea. Let's arrest her or keep her under custody, and when the child born of Kayadu comes from her, we'll kill him, because he's Hiranyakashipu Jr. So we want to finish him. Somehow or another, the uncanny Narada Muni knows just exactly when to show up and exactly what to say and what to do. So that's what he did. He just showed up and said, "Stop. The child in her womb is not Hiranyakashipu Jr. He has a great personality. So leave her in my custody." She requested Narada that the child not be born until her husband came back from his austerities, and the whole thing with his austerities. So the child is born. And having heard from Narada Muni, that's all he needed. He was already a great soul, and now he's a pure devotee great soul, having heard from Narada Muni, despite, bad, super bad, triple bad association. It didn't affect him. Many things happened leading up to where we are. The Shukracharya had two sons, Shanta and Amarka. Shukracharya were the Asura Kula teachers. And they were trained to train this little boy to become a nice Asura. He could take over my throne when he grows up and becomes a big Asura. But they were unsuccessful. And many things happened. Finally, because Prahalad was so direct and fearless, when he spoke about Vishnu, that was it. Hiranyakashipu wanted to kill him. So he tried this way, that way, the other way, the other way, the other way. 5, 6, 7 different ways. And he couldn't kill him. And he was defeated by the power of his own son. So he asked one time his son, "Where are you getting your power?" And he gave an honest answer, "I'm getting my power from the same source that you are." Vishnu, where is this Vishnu? I'll kill him. He's everywhere. That's what Vishnu means, by the way. The all-pervasive. He's everywhere. He's everywhere. That he's in this pillar. That was it. And then, like a lion playing with his prey, he played with Hiranyakashipu and then finished him. And he was roaring so loud. The demigods had observed all this and they were trying to pacify him, but nothing worked. He was angry. You know the story? The goddess of fortune. She was afraid. So then Lord Brahma reasoned. This form of the Lord appeared to protect you, Prahalad. You go. I'm not qualified, and he went forward because he was instructed to do so by his superior, Lord Brahma. And as he came before and paid as it fell at the feet of Lord Nrsingadev, Nrsingadev reached out and touched his paw on his head. And he was peaceful. And then he started offering prayers. And the beautiful prayers. And it is said by his touching his head, he gave him the capacity to speak so eloquently, although he was speaking quite eloquently before that, instructing his classmates and speaking to his father, speaking to his Shanda and Amarka. He was already gifted, but when he spoke, one of the nicest things, there's many nice things, one of the nicest things is it flows there's moods in each prayer and each series of prayers, and then the mood changes. It's like the flow of a river. And sometimes the wave goes up and sometimes it goes down. Sometimes he's in the mood of repentance, and sometimes he's in the mood of ecstasy, and sometimes he's in the mood of humility, and sometimes in the mood of glorification, and it keeps flowing. Very nice. Very instructive. I mean, it's his prayers to Lord Nrsingadev. At the same time, it's instruction for us, so that we can understand what is appropriate glorification of the personality of Godhead. And so it's very elevated. I mean, there are a number of prayers that are like that, very elevated, from persons you might least expect it, from the wives of the Kaliya serpent. Read those prayers. Those ladies, whatever school they went to, that was like super school. Doesn't say where they learned, but wonderful prayers, and also very logical, and understanding the contradictions within the supreme. They're fantastic. So prayers, we can learn a lot from the mood of the prayers and the content of the prayer, and staying on focus. Even the mood keeps changing somewhat. Focus on the personality of Godhead. So we're all the way up to, rather than review from the earliest parts of the prayers, we're going to be discussing verses 30 through 34. That means 5 prayers. And the theme is the relationship of all things with Krishna. Now, you see on the screen here, Achintya Bheda Bheda Tattva. And you all know what that means. That's Lord Chaitanya's teachings, right? Each of the 4 sampradayas, they emphasize something. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared in the line of Lord Brahma, the Brahma Sampradaya, so Brahma Gaudiya Sampradaya. And in Madhvacharya's teachings, he just emphasizes the difference. So, when some acharya, very strong-looking acharya with 2 fingers in the air, you know who that is, even if the artist is not so good. Madhvacharya. There's this distinction, the difference between, rather than go into his teachings, Pancha Bheda. There's the Lord and there's a living entity, difference. There's living entity and living entity, difference. Living entity and Prakriti, difference. Supreme Lord and Prakriti, difference. Prakriti and Prakriti, difference. Panchabheda. Like that was his theme. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took that teaching and modified it. This phrase, Achintya Bheda Bheda Tattva, wasn't his phrase. Guess who coined the phrase? Jiva Goswami. Super scholar Jiva Goswami, explaining the teachings of Lord Chaitanya are not different than the teachings of the Bhagavatam. The teachings of the Bhagavatam are not different than the teachings of Lord Chaitanya. The Bhagavatam teaches Achintya Bheda Bheda Tattva. There's a simultaneous oneness and difference of all things. Sambandha is relationship, and there's a oneness and difference of all things. And it's easy. It's not difficult. It's very easy and very sensible. So rather than going into how sensible it is, let's hear what Prahalad has to say. So these 2 verses come first, 30, 31. Prahalad discussed.
See it on the screen.
Okay. There's something wrong with this because it doesn't go full screen. Watch this. Check it out. I'm going to make it go full screen. And then when I plug it in, it's going to go half screen. Okay, full screen, right?
Yeah.
And somehow something happens, and it goes to that.
Can I try something?
Yeah, you can do whatever you want to do. Congratulations. I don't go well with technology, and technology doesn't go well. I would never be able to drive a Tesla. No way. Too many buttons. Okay. Achintya Bheda Bheda Tattva. There we go. So these two texts, 30, 31, they're emphasizing Achintya Bheda Bheda Tattva. First, he discusses the oneness and difference between the source and that which comes from the source. We all know in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is very clear. Aham sarvasya prabhavo matak sarvam pravartate iti madva bhajante mam buddha bhavas. So he's the source of everything. So since he's the source of everything, there's a oneness between him and that which comes from him. But then there's also a difference because it comes from him that's not the source. It's from him. The sunshine is not the sun. The sun is not the sunshine. There's a difference. But there's a oneness at the same time. Shakti and Shaktiman. So okay, let's hear how Prahalad speaks. This next verse, we're going to go through these. This is Vishnu's Yoga Nidra. He's sleeping but not sleeping like us. When something happened, I don't know what happened. I spent like 3 hours going over this, and I dismissed it. Okay, I'd like to cover these two texts, but I didn't do it. Maybe we'll do it tomorrow, because it's nice and it's important. But you understand that the oneness and difference. Okay, text 32. Vishnu's Yoga Nidra. He's sleeping but not sleeping. It's contradiction. But it's because his sleeping is not like our sleeping. Here's the verse, 32. Oh my Lord, remember his age. He just like started school. O Supreme Personality of Godhead, after the annihilation, the creative energy is kept in you, who appear to sleep with half-closed eyes. Actually, however, you do not sleep like an ordinary human being, for you are always in a transcendental stage beyond the creation of the material world, and you always feel transcendental bliss. As Karnadakshayi Vishnu, you thus remain in your transcendental status, not touching material objects. From him, but he's not touching and he's untouched. He's not contaminated by the material energy or the modes of material nature, but they're working under his direction. By his glance, and his eyes are closed. He's got contradictions, this Mahavishnu. You thus remain in your transcendental status, not touching material objects. Although you appear to sleep, the sleeping is distinct from sleeping in ignorance. You see the last line. Turye stito na tu tamo na gunangscha yunkshe. Looks like, but it's not. And so what to speak of Mahavishnu, then same what to speak of the original personality Godhead, from whom Mahavishnu is in expansion. So there he is, these, an artist depiction of Mahavishnu, four-armed Mahavishnu. It's nice that the artist did it correctly. Sometimes artists fudge. So this one, there's no indication of Rama Devi. And the reason there's no indication of Rama Devi is she's within, or the way it's described in the Bhagavatam, he, Mahavishnu, is enjoying pastimes with Rama Devi within. They're exchanging loving dealings with one another, but she's not manifest as a form outside and engaging in that way. This cosmic manifestation comes from you, thus part of you, although different. This is the oneness and difference again. Here's the verse. So there's Mahavishnu. So at least it's Garbhodakshaya Vishnu because there's Lakshmi. And so the universes have become manifest and she's massaging his feet. And Krishna is observing the whole situation. This cosmic manifestation in the material world is also your body. The total lump of matter is agitated by your potent energy known as Kala Shakti. And thus the three modes of material nature are manifested. So in Sankhya philosophy, it's much more detailed. But the details are not here because this is not Sankhya philosophy, it's his glorification of the personality of Godhead. Now he's looking at Lord Nrsimhadev, but he's understanding the identity between Lord Nrsimhadev, who's a Leela avatar, and the Lord Vishnu. And there's a whole science which lots of details about avatars of Vishnu. It's a nice topic. It's such a nice topic that Rupa Goswami wrote a whole book on that topic. Laghu Bhagavatamrita is about that thick. And he wrote the book and wrote commentaries on his own verses. And other acharyas wrote commentaries on his verses. So it's exploring or expanding the topic of avatars of Vishnu. Because it's an important topic. As you most likely know, in Canto 1 Srimad Bhagavatam, there are 6 questions asked by the sages of Naimisharanya to Sutta. And one of those 6 is this one. Please identify the avatars of Vishnu as they appear in this world. Because that's what Ava means, one to descend, comes down, avatara. So those who are of the spiritual world, and they appear in the material world, that's avatar. And then there are different categories of avatars, there's many categories. And Lord Nrsimhadev, he is identified in Laghu Bhagavatamrita as having different categories. He fits under this and that and the other category. But one of them is a Leela avatar. For example, very celebrated is the Das Avatar Stotra of Jayadev. And Lord Nrsimhadev was one of those 10 Dasa avatars. So those 10 are all Leela avatars. But there's many others. So that's one of his categories. So he's Leela avatar. But Prahalad, knows the science enough to identify, as he's speaking to the Leela avatar, Lord Nrsimhadev, he's understanding his source of emanation, Vishnu. Starting with Mahavishnu, we'll hear the Sahasra Purusha, Sahasraksha, Sahasrapad. He's speaking to the Lord Nrsimhadev as if he is the Purusha avatar, the original Purusha avatar, with many faces, arms, hands, legs, etc., because he's Vishnu, He's everywhere. And how many heads does he have? As many as everywhere, that's how many. You can't, too many to count. And he's everywhere. So how many hands, how many mouths, how many thises and that's. Each form doesn't have many, but he is spread everywhere, and therefore he has many. That's the understanding. So Prahalad he's a little boy, but he's a very elevated personality. He's been touched by the hand or the paw of the personality of Godhead. And so his material, it's something very similar happened with Dhruva by touching the conch. All contamination was taken away, fully enlightened, and he could speak eloquently, and he does. And he's not just reading a textbook or looking up a verse in the Bhagavatam. He's speaking the Bhagavatam. He's speaking transcendental knowledge. It's really amazing. I mean, really amazing. But he's understanding Lord Nrsingadev is an avatar of Vishnu. And as an avatar of Vishnu, he's Vishnu. But Vishnu expands as Lord Nrsingadev. And then, so first it's Mahavishnu, now it's Garbhadakshay Vishnu. So Garbhadakshay Vishnu, going to cantos 2 and 3, this is canto 7, there's detailed description of the creation. And here's the sequence. So, it's slow motion is not painful, it's just, it'll take some time, slow motion. But there's a wheel of time. Now, question. In the spiritual world, is there time? Not as we know it. There is such a thing as eternal time, because that's where time as we know it comes from. But there's eternal time. And because Mahavishnu has a function on behalf of the personality of Godhead Krishna, that is, to manifest the material world, here, Mahavishnu, here's my Prakriti, here's the living entities, build some universes, please. Yes, sir. And his mood is a servant. He's the master. But at the same time, his mood is to serve the cause of all causes, sarva karana karanam, Govinda. So Govinda wants universes. Yes, sir. And it does, and then so that he moves as if he's influenced by time. That is to say, Kala Chakra, the wheel of time, moves, and it's time for creation. When it's time for creation, there's his assistant or his energetic expansion, Ramadevi. And she knows. How does she know? Because she's the energetic expansion. She knows. It's time. So when it's time, she sees Lord glancing. Now he has his eyes closed, but then he slightly half opens his eyes and glances at Pradhan. What's Pradhan? It's the totality of the material energy, but not differentiated. Like, often it's pictured as clouds. Clouds, Prakriti, undifferentiated Prakriti called Pradhan. And then he glances at Pradhan with slightly opened eyes. She knows that's the signal. So what does she do? With the glance, called Shambhu, she entrusts two things: the totality of all living entities and time, or as it says here, Kala Shakti. Two things. Because without time, you don't have creation. Nothing moves without time. Things move because of time. Because of time, things move. So where does it come from? It's from his eternal time, and she entrusts this time as we know it, Kala Shakti, for the purpose of material creation, Kala Shakti and the totality of living entities are carried by the glance. They're entrusted to the glance, and the glance, that's Shambhu, he contacts. Vishnu doesn't contact. The glance of Vishnu contacts, and that has a different name. That's Shambhu. That's his glance. And then the living entities plus time contact Pradhan, and Pradhan becomes agitated. It's like a primordial impregnation. The womb of the mother receives the seed from the father, and there's some agitation. And the agitation results in the conception of a child. In this case, it's the manifestation of a universe. There's further details. While this is going on, Mahavishnu is exhaling. And as he's exhaling, universes come, bubbles come, and the material elements cling. The language of Bhakti Siddhanta is conglomerate. And it's just spiritual bubbles, like bubbles. And but they're little seeds of a universe, and the elements cling, and then because the bubble is expanding, because energy is working, the universes expand up to a certain limit, and then after some time they're withdrawn. It's a long cycle of time, but they're withdrawn, and then it's cosmic annihilation time. And there's details and details about, but just as far as creation, that's what this verse is speaking about. The cosmic manifestation, the material world, is also your body. The total lump of matter, that's Pradhan, is agitated by your potent energy, known as Kala Shakti, and thus the three modes of material nature are manifested. So the modes are there within Prakriti, or material nature, but they're in the Pradhan state, they're not manifested. In the agitated state, everything starts to differentiate, things start to happen, whereas before it was dormant. And dormant for as long as the cosmic manifestation, for the same length, dormant. It's a long time. And then the wheel of time moves, and it's time for creation, and these things happen. You awaken from the bed of Shesha, Ananta, and from your navel a small so now he, Prahalad, is addressing Garbhodakshay Vishnu. Because this is no longer Mahavishnu, but it's just Mahavishnu's expansion. A little complicated, huh? You're okay? If you hear it like 50 times, then it's okay. So, Vishnu, Vishnu, Vishnu. There's Maha, there's Garbhodakshay. The Garbha means universe, Garbha. And then within every atom, within the heart of every living, it's another Vishnu. Vishnu, Vishnu, Vishnu. In different spheres of influence with the same function. The function that Krishna wanted them to do. Bring about creation that he doesn't do, but they do. And they don't do, but they do through the agency of their energies. So they also don't they don't touch matter. They're not influenced, there's no touch of matter contaminating them. No modes of nature, nothing. But it happens by their oversight and their energies. It's a little different than the Big Bang cosmology. little different. Once upon a time, there was a chunk, and some time passed, and kaboom! Matter went flying in all directions. What was the cause? Chance. Really? And that's science? Really? So this is a different, and then the scientists go, really? You believe in this stuff? Come on. Come on. Show me. Where's your proof? I'm a scientist. Where's your evidence? Those kinds of... The confrontational, faithless, argumentative person isn't going to understand the subtleties of anything. Creation or anything. Rather than go down that path, let's just stay with Prahalad. You awaken from the bed of Shesha, Ananta, and from your navel a small seed is generated. It is from this seed that the lotus flower of the gigantic universe is manifested, exactly as a banyan tree grows from a small seed. Exactly. Meaning, exactly means, when you look at it, within a banyan, it's a fruit, and within the fruit, it's a little bit like figs. Figs have little seeds, many little seeds, and each of those little seeds is a potential fig tree. It's not like you plant the fig, it's the seed that's within the figs. So the scriptures describe the banyan seed as like a fig. It's even shaped like a fig. And within the fig, there's seeds. And one of those little seeds, properly cultivated, etc., right conditions, and so forth and so on, you got a banyan tree. Now, when there's a banyan tree, you don't see the seed anymore. And that's coming up. When Lord Brahma descends down the stem, he can't find where it came from, because it came from a seed. The seed isn't there anymore. Well, here. That's coming attractions. So, this is Bhaktivedanta purport. The conclusion is that both the material world and the spiritual world are considered to be the body of the Supreme Lord. Different, but in principle, non-different. Same difference in non-difference. Achinta beta, abeda. One and different at the same time. We can understand that the material body, our material bodies, are caused by the spiritual body, and therefore an expansion of the spiritual body. When one takes up spiritual activities, one's entire material body is spiritualized. As long as we do not realize this, we live in the material world. But when we are fully Krishna conscious, we live not in the material world, but in the spiritual world. In other words, a phrase that Prabhupada used over and over, including, his magazine, Back to Godhead, the goal is back to Godhead. But back to Godhead doesn't mean change of address. I mean, Krishna may take you back home, back to Godhead. And Krishna may have you stay here and be back to Godhead here. Because it's not the change of address, it's a change of consciousness. And it will slowly, one more time. The difference is the spirit soul that seed that generates bodies, it's a seed. And then if that soul that's within the body engages in or indulges in trying to become an enjoyer of Prakriti, that's material life. And if that same soul, or by transformation and contact with bhakti, sees this world and everything that comes from the Supreme is from the Supreme, and engages accordingly, it belongs to the Supreme. Therefore, it's meant to be used for the Supreme. That's Krishna consciousness. And that person is no longer living in the material world. They're transported by consciousness to the spiritual world. That's exactly what's said here. So there we have, this nice painting, young couple and the little boy, and there's demigods showering flowers, and they're in the spiritual world. But they're in the material world in the spiritual world, or in the spiritual world in the material world, whichever way you like, because of Krishna consciousness. Now, it's easier said than done, but that's the principle. Material pleasure means pleasure of the senses, spiritual pleasure means pleasure of Krishna. And one more verse. Brahma could not find the source of the lotus because, we already mentioned it, because the seed is no longer there. The banyan seed is now a banyan tree. When a seed fructifies, the original seed cannot be seen. And he gives another example. Cotton can become thread and can become cloth. You don't see the cotton anymore. You see the cloth. Or you see the thread, you don't see the cotton anymore. Or then when it's cloth, it's hard to discern. With magnifying instruments you can see the thread, but that's what cloth is. Here's verse 34. There's the acorn, and in the background, that's the acorn tree in the background, a little acorn. You don't see the acorn anymore. But when it becomes mature, the acorn tree, the oak tree produces more acorns. From that great lotus flower, Brahma was generated. But Brahma certainly could see nothing but the lotus. Therefore, thinking you to be outside, Brahma dove into the water and attempted to find the source of the lotus for 100 years. That's a long time. And it's not just 100 of our years, because there's no creation yet. This is celestial years, or Brahma's 100 years. That's a long time. He could find no trace of you, however, for when a seed fructifies, the original seed cannot be seen. So, there's a fruit tree. And where did the fruit come from? That's an apple tree, looks like. So, the seed of the apple seed is no longer, because it became a tree. It fructified and sprouted from that seed, and the original seed can't be found anymore. When cotton is transformed into thread, the cotton is no longer visible. And when the thread is woven into cloth, the thread is no longer visible. So the three stages. I know what happened. When I was spending these hours, it was on the next set of verses. Because the next set of verses I do a little bit of review on. We already reached the end of the section. But, so just to step back, to keep it simple. When Jiva Goswami coined the phrase Achintya Bheda Bheda Tattva, what was he doing? He was summarizing in a very super intelligent way Lord Chaitanya's teachings. And Lord Chaitanya's teachings are the Srimad Bhagavatam. The Srimad Bhagavatam are Lord Chaitanya's teachings. It's quite simple. And so if you understand the Srimad Bhagavatam, you understand Lord Chaitanya's teachings. If you understand Lord Chaitanya's teachings, you understand Srimad Bhagavatam, because they're the same, literally identical. And Prahalad is a hero, as you may know. For the duration of time that Chaitanya, after taking sannyas, most of his remaining years, he went on tour in South India for some time, and he went to Vrindavan for some time, but the rest of his 24 years was spent in Puri. And one of his activities in Puri, daily, he would take darshan of the Jagannath deity for Mangal Arati, stand behind the Garuda Stamba and raise his arms and sing very loudly and dance. The Arati was over, the pujaris would come bringing prasad, and then he took that prasadam and went to visit Haridas Thakur, because Haridas Thakur would not enter, and besides they wouldn't allow him to enter, but he wouldn't enter the Jagannath temple, although he was super qualified. So Lord Chaitanya came and brought Jagannath Prasad to him. That was his daily fare. And then they associated together for some time, loving exchanges. And then next, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to visit the temple of Gopinath in a garden called Tota Gopinath. Tota means garden. And there he saw Gopinath. And before the deity of Gopinath, same thing, sing, dance, in ecstasy. And then the next thing is he would sit and hear Gadadhar Pandit, his dear devotee, who was also the pujari of Gopinath, recite Srimad Bhagavatam for hours, for several hours. And two of his favorite stories, according to Chaitanya Bhagavat, he especially liked hearing the story of Prahalad and the story of Dhruva. According to Chaitanya Bhagavat, he heard it hundreds, plural, of times. And after hearing it again, he would say it again, say it again. Because it's ever fresh. So he, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, was a great lover of Prahalad Maharaj, because Prahalad Maharaj was a pure devotee. He's one of our Mahajanas, who are great, great authorities. Of course, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was the supreme person, but he took the role of a devotee of Krishna, although he's Krishna. So he liked hearing about Prahalad and including everything, but including these prayers to Lord Nrsingadev. And in these prayers of Lord Nrsingadev, truths about the source of everything are disclosed. Now this little section has to do with the creation and the relationship of the energies that come from the source of those energies and the energy, the relationship. Sambandha Gyan in Sanskrit language. Sambandha, the relationship of everything with the source of emanation, Sambandha Gyan. So Prahalad understood it. And he more than understood it, he's going to then take that Sambandha Gyan and go into devotional service, the teachings about devotional service that were the teachings of Lord Chaitanya, because the teaching of Srimad Bhagavatam is the teaching of Lord. It's very simple. And the principle behind it is very simple. There's involvement of detail, but it's important for us as we hear these prayers to appreciate many things. What has Prahalad just been through? Attempted murder and nothing. This, that, the other, nothing. Because he was protected. And what was his protection? The stage of perfection of Prahalad was constant remembrance. Just by constant remembrance, he was protected. It's like, even when it's raining, you have an umbrella, you're not going to get wet. That was his umbrella, just remembering Krishna. And never forgetting. Under any circumstance, even the most difficult of circumstance, life-threatening circumstance, no deviation, and thus protected. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu liked, and if we, as we go along, if we hear carefully, we'll understand not only his constant remembrance and thus protection, but we'll see that the symptoms, and our acharyas will point it out to us. He's at the stage of prema bhakti. He's certainly a nice devotee. He's certainly a pure devotee. But he's also on the platform of prema bhakti. And so in the platform of prema bhakti, suddenly he'll go from this position to that position. We'll hear. Our acharyas will help us make sure we hear. He's moved by prema. And in that mood of prema, he's feeling disqualified. And then the next verse, he's praying for the welfare of all living entities. Like he just leaves, I'm disqualified. The humility of an elevated devotee is superlatively humble. And then it swings to wishing that others are delivered. And what can be done to, which is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mood, what can be done to deliver? Really, we'll see as we go along. The prayers are fantastic. Even it's, before Gaur Purnima. Because it's Lord Chaitanya's teachings. Spoken by Prahalad. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu liked to hear the teachings of Prahalad, or the prayers of Prahalad, because they're his teachings. And it's not like he borrowed those teachings, they're his teachings. And how did Prahalad get them? He got them from Narada. And how did Narada get them? He got them from Lord Brahma. How did Brahma get them? Well, here, it's in his prayer. It's right in these prayers. While he speaks, I'll just touch on this one thing. It's a little coming up, but he, Prahalad, speaks. One of the moods, and therefore one of the messages, is you're the supreme person who killed Madhu and Kaitaba, two demons. This is like way in the beginning of creation. There's different narrations because there are different days of Brahma, but what Prahalad mentions is Hayagriva arose from a yajna of Lord Brahma because the Vedas were in great danger because these two demons were trying to steal the Vedas. And what are demons going to do with the Vedas? Bad stuff. That's what demons do. They'll take the Vedas and pollute them and make them into bad stuff, because within the Vedas there's things that also teach how to destroy. It's a nice teaching. When Dronacharya was teaching Dhanurveda, one of the sections of the Veda is military science, Dhanurveda. And the teacher of Dhanurveda for the Pandavas and the Kauravas was Dronacharya. Dronacharya had a son, and he had many other students besides his son. His son was Ashvatthama. And other students were unlike Ashvatthama. Ashvatthama, two things. He was proud, and he was familiar with his teacher. The familiarity breeds contempt. You've heard that phrase. So his teacher was his father, and he was too familiar, and thus insufficient respect. So when it came to teaching how to use the weapon, the Brahmastra weapon, he taught his son how to release it, but not how to withdraw it. In contrast, Arjuna also was taught how to use the Brahmastra, but also how to withdraw it. And therefore, he could use it in the proper way to protect. In extreme circumstances, here's a weapon. And here's how you withdraw the weapon, because it's meant for protection, not meant for destruction. So now back to Madhu and Kaitava. They captured the Vedas, and they were going to do destructive things with the Vedas, because that's within the Vedas. You know, like this whole thing of creation and following creation is maintenance, and following maintenance is destruction. So they knew how they would use it in a destructive way. So what did Brahma do? Seeing and knowing that Madhu and Kaitava had stolen the Vedas, and would do direct destructive things, unstoppable. So he performed a yajna, and from the yajna came Hayagriva, and Hayagriva was sent by Lord Brahma, go to the bottom of the Garbhadak ocean and get those guys. So there are different days of Brahma, and it happened in different ways in different days of Brahma, but it's in this Prahalad's prayers. He an incarnation of the personality of the Godhead, Hayagriva, appeared, killed Madhu and Kaitava, and returned the Vedas back to Lord Brahma. Ta-da! And then his purpose was completed, and we don't hear about him after his purpose was completed. He didn't just like poof disappear, but we don't hear what happened after, because that's the main messages within these series of verses. Protection. The personality of Godhead comes to protect religious principles, to protect the devotees, and to annihilate the demons. So here he is, and looking at Lord Nrsimhadev, who just annihilated one big demon, and then all the cronies or the buddies that also tried to attack Lord Nrsimhadev, big mistake, and they lost their lives. The place was made clean because demons were killed. And the demigods were relieved, because the demigods, they lost their kingdoms because Hiranyakashipu was so powerful. And they were unable to give protection. Now they're back in their position, and they can properly use, more sober-minded than perhaps before, to use their strength, the power that they're invested with, to govern the universe and give the necessary protection for those who are following Dharma. There's so many lessons within each lesson, sub-lessons and sub-lessons. So we'll continue tomorrow, and I'll go back with those first two verses and cover them properly. Any discussion? Prayers of Prahalad. Yes?
I have 3 questions.
How many?
3 questions.
3?
Yeah.
You're very patient to let me just keep blabbering, and you're holding on 3 questions. I'm looking at our sound man. Go ahead.
The first question is, the material world came from the Lord's body, but he doesn't touch it.
Right.
So how do we understand that?
Easy. He glances. And the glance is Lord Shiva, or Shambhu, more specifically. That feature of Lord Shiva that is the glance has a name. It's Lord Shiva, but Shambhu.
So the glance contains the material elements.
No. The glance, the elements are over there, Pradhan.
Okay.
The glance is three things. It's the person, Shambhu, and the sum total of all living entities, that's two, and time energy, that's three. He is entrusted by Ramadevi, he, Shambhu, is entrusted by Ramadevi, carry these two things and impregnate the material energy so it means things can start to happen, please.
But why does it say the material world is in his body?
Why does it say the material world is what?
In the Lord's body.
It's not in the Lord's body, it's from him. The material world is from him. Prakriti is from him.
Okay.
So, where did it come from? Where did anything come from? From the source.
Right.
So, it's not in him, but it's of him.
Okay.
From him. And so, some energies, his swarup, his spiritual energies are within him. Ramadevi is within him. The Prakriti, another one of his energies, is outside of him.
Okay.
But his. And the way to spiritualize that which is his. Use his in service to him.
Okay. So the living entities and time are coming from him, and it impregnates the material nature.
Well, Shambhu impregnates.
Shambhu impregnates,
Yeah.
Okay. That makes sense.
And that's why he has a different name.
Right.
You know the verse. Milk mixed with the souring
Sour.
agent becomes yogurt.
Yeah, Brahma Samhita.
Yeah, Brahma Samhita.
Yeah.
So that's Shambhu.
The second question is, it says the spiritual world and the material world came from his body. So we saw how that comes in, as far as the material world is concerned, I understand that. But what about the spiritual world? Where did it come from?
Your question, I'm getting a little animated here, I'll calm down. Your question is misleading. Where did it come from? Sounds like once upon a time it wasn't. And then some time passed and Krishna looked at his watch and said, you know what, it's time for some spiritual world. It's not like that. It's eternal. It's from him and eternally from him. This other energy is also eternally his energy, and sometimes in an unmanifest and sometimes in a manifest state.
Okay,
It just
so
undergoes.
it's always there. It just manifests and unmanifests.
That's the material energy, manifests, unmanifests. The spiritual energy is always there. It's never. He is the source, but it's not once upon a time it didn't exist and then he manifests it.
Okay.
It's always there, like the jiva. Next.
The third question is, it says that
Can we turn the volume down a little bit? Thanks. Go ahead.
Mahavishnu, it came from the navel of Garbhodakshai Vishnu, came
Brahma,
the
then
lotus.
a lotus, and then on top of the lotus, a lotus flower.
So does the navel or does it represent something?
No, it's not symbolic. It's not symbolic.
Symbolic of what? Something?
It's not symbolic. You
Okay.
don't go there.
Okay.
He has a navel. Let me, where does the umbilical cord come from? So it's not material. in the case of Mahavishnu, in the case of Garbhodakshayi Vishnu, it's not material. And if something that we do, something that mothers do, resembles something that Vishnu does, there's a reason. This is a reflection of that, not the other way around. It's a nice story. We got a nice story because umbilical cords come from, and they're connected to the navel, and you cut the umbilical cord, and then the baby starts crying. It's don't mix them up.
It's just symbolic.
It's not symbolic.
It's not symbolic.
It's not symbolic. He has a navel. He has a mouth. He has feet. He has arms. He has appendages. And you know that because you know Brahma Samhita, you also know for one limb can do anything any other limb can do.
Yeah.
So, it's not symbolic.
Okay.
It's spiritual.
Okay.
Spiritual isn't symbolism. Spiritual is spiritual.
Okay. Thank you, Maharaj.
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you, Maharaj. So we heard from one of the classes which I was hearing that Krishna, Lord Ram, Balram, and
when you say from one of the classes I was hearing, my antenna goes up.
Yes, ma'am. It's like that. I've heard.
What I've heard. So and then you wouldn't. Pardon me, but I've been down this path many times, and just as soon as I hear something like that, She was very patient to ask her 3 questions. I'm asking before. I don't have such patience that she has.
Yes.
What's the source? I heard. In one class, I heard. So, can you please identify not the person who spoke it, but what's the source upon which they were speaking? You follow what I'm asking?
Like, where is it from?
What's the authority, the scriptural authority, please? Because otherwise, we're listening to what you're saying, and who knows
where it came from.
And I've been down that path too many times. It's cuckoo land. I don't like it.
Yes, Maharaj. So, I don't remember. But it's, I think it's well known. Everybody knows it. Like, everybody's heard about it. That's why I'm being confident.
Everyone has heard a lot of things.
Yes,
I'm sorry.
Yes, Maharaj. So it's like Swayam Krishna, and then we have Lord Ram, Lord Chaitanya, and Lord Balram, and Lord Narasimhadev are all of the full manifestations of the Lord. That's what I...
That's not correct. From Laghu Bhagavatamrita and from Chaitanya Charitamrita, both sources, those are the sources. They're Prabhava avatars. Prabhava avatars means almost complete. No, Balaram is complete with the exception that he's not a Prabhava avatar. Rama and Nrsinga are Prabhava avatars. Almost complete. But there are 4 things that Krishna has that they don't have.
Yes.
But otherwise, they're not only Vishnu Tattva, but they're the most complete manifestation of Vishnu Tattva. The source, 2 sources. Chaitanya Charitamrita, and that is place you can find that is Lord Chaitanya's talks with Sanatana Goswami in the Sanatana Shiksha section, Anchya Lila. And then in Laghu Bhagavatamrita, the same thing is explained. It's probably other places also. But what's the position of Balaram? There's a whole chapter in Adi Lila about Balaram. And he is not different, except he doesn't have a flute. But he has all the potencies that Krishna has. And he's the elder brother. So there's a rasa between the two, and sometimes Krishna doesn't do what his elder brother wants.
Yes.
And then persuades his elder brother to, it's nice. Let Arjuna kidnap Subhadra,
Yes.
although he wanted something else. He yielded to his younger brother because he's the servant of his younger brother. So it's a rasa. So, but now back to tattva. Besides rasa, he's the same. The mood of servant to his younger brother, who is the source of everything. There's not two sources of everything, there's one. And Balaram is from that source. No, it's eternally from that source, not once upon a time there was no Balaram. And Krishna looked at his watch and said, hey, you know what, I like a brother. Eternally.
Yeah, I get it now.
Okay. In the whole spiritual world, it's like not once upon a time, or it's metaphorical, or it's symbolic, or none of that. So we use language as if it's in time, but we must remember it's not an event in time. So Balaram is Krishna's first expansion. But it's not a chronological expansion, it's an ontological reality, having the fullness of Krishna with these little exceptions, these 4 little exceptions that Krishna has, because he's the source. They're unique to him. Balaram's not the source. He's the servitor Godhead. So now,
Yes, ma'am. So in
back
that
to your
relation, in that relation, then when Prahalad Maharaj is praying to Narsimhadev, so when we were mentioning that there are Leela avatars also,
yeah.
and so how is this connected with
How is which connected?
with Prabhava? You mentioned how
Yeah.
Narsimhadev is that expansion, and
Well,
then with Leela.
it's this and that. It's like a Venn diagram. You know what that is? That's like a Venn diagram. So one way to describe is over here, another way to describe is over there. He, Nrsingadev, is a Leela avatar. He's a Leela avatar. And so that's the category of avatar, and amongst all the totality of avatars, he is his Prabhava avatar. Prabhava avatar, there's 3. Krishna, Ram, and Nrsinga. And like the Ayodhya, the spiritual realm of Ramachandra, is the topmost part of Vaikuntha. It's still Vaikuntha. And the abode of Lord Nrsingadev, it doesn't have a particular name like Ayodhya has for Ramachandra, but it's in this very special, triple special realm from whence or from where he descends when needed, and, in days of Brahma as needed. And then that's his eternal abode. From whence he comes, he returns. That's his eternal abode. That's his home. Like Krishna has his home, or his abode, his place. There's other refinements, but I'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, others? Yes.
This is just sharing realization, Guru Maharaj, that I see that there is this common theme we see in the different prayers, that this Sambandha, Abhideya and Prayojan, because even the wives of Kaliya, they give the same example, right? The thread and the fabric and how he is completely, so the whole, Achinta, Beda, Tattva is also there.
Yes,
from those.
yes,
So
yes.
I just saying
because
that
it's an eternal reality.
So it's just so beautiful to see that in the different prayers, the prayers seem like all the verses are different, but really that the theory behind
Well,
like
they're glorifying
tattva,
the absolute truth. It's not multiple absolute truths.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's just so beautiful. It's just sharing realization.
It's a nice appreciation. On the one hand, that Prahalad heard from Narada Muni, it's like, although he's a little boy in his Leela at this stage, he got everything from Narada Muni. Where did these wives of the Kaliya serpent, what school did they go to? Who was their teacher? No information. But somehow they had a good teacher, because they know everything. Anyone else? Okay. I know how to be patient. Don't become uncomfortable while I'm being patient, but maybe something will come. Yeah, sure.
So when we were sharing about the different prayers, like the Nagapatnis, Dhruva Maharaj, so like you mentioned, there are different moods which are there in each of the prayers, eventually giving the same perspective of the absolute truth. So like how even though they are, like Mataji was saying, that they are saying the same thing about the absolute truth, like the Nagapatnis and Prahalad Maharaj, but there would be the difference in mood. So then, because they are just verses, how are we envisioning them, that what is the different mood they have? And because the wordings are the same, like the same.
In some cases, the wordings aren't the same. The concepts are similar. The concepts may even be seeming to be the same concept, like this, the thread and the cloth. So some somewhat similar or almost identical metaphors. There are some verses where, without giving examples, some verses that are in even the Sanskrit are almost identical from one part of the Bhagavatam, another part of the Bhagavatam. And it's not that Vyasadeva was lazy. He just borrowed from over here and cut and paste and put it over there. It's that, the absolute truth is the absolute truth. There are different ways of describing the absolute truth, and sometimes there are identical ways of describing the absolute truth. But the mood, the wives of the Kaliya serpent, they had an objective. Their objective was, please spare our husband. Because by dancing on his hoods, you purified him to the point where he has fully surrendered to you. All of his toxic contamination is gone. So he's your devotee. They had a different mission. We acknowledge he's to be punished. This, that, and the other. Bad to be punished, fit to be punished. On the other hand, you purified him. And if you kill him, because Krishna said, I have to dance on his hoods a few more times. You'll kill him. He's almost dead now. And then, what good will be done? And Krishna says, well, he can give up his snake body and he'll be relieved of having a snake body. Wouldn't that be nice? Well, he's already gotten rid of his snake body by the touch of your lotus feet upon his hoods. Not only the touch of the dust of your lotus feet, but you smashed him completely. Because he was a hard case, you smashed him completely. And although he's fit to be punished, you're the abode of contradictions, and so be merciful. Your punishment is also mercy, right? So their mood, the message was quite similar because it's the absolute truth. And there's a big section where they deal with contradictions that rest within the Supreme. And they're looking at Krishna and they recognize he's the Supreme. not just a little boy that was dancing on her husband's hoods. He's the Supreme. So he's this and he's that, and there are apparent contradictions within you. So they had a different purpose, and Prahalad is just he wants to glorify the personality of Godhead. He doesn't need protection. He's been protected. So rather, it's just the flow of his prema. That's how our acharyas describe it.
So then when the prayers are being said by devotees, then it would be the context
Yes.
in which we should be.
Context specific, exactly.
Thank you.
Last time's for it.
Yeah, more than.
Rakeshan Guru Maharaj, I had one comment and a question. So initially you mentioned how Narada Muni appeared out of nowhere to save Kayadu and Prahalad Maharaj. I'm almost thinking, even in all of our lives, someone like that came in and gave us this knowledge. So this section kind of made me appreciate the gift we have received and served as a reminder that we should utilize it and not kind of misuse it or leave it. So that's the comment I wanted to share. And the question I had, Maharaj, was about the last part where you mentioned Prahalad Maharaj was constantly remembering Krishna, and that's why he was able to survive all the ill treatments from his father. So I'm thinking, how do we practically do that in this world? Because when you hear about Krishna from outside, then you can remember Krishna. But then when you're working, it's not possible every second we remember Krishna or remember his pastime. So how do we practically do that?
Well, how does a mother become attached to her child? She doesn't go to mother school and learns how to become attached to her child. It's just affection. It's intrinsic. Motherhood has that intrinsic capacity. So just like, you have a wife and child, and someone doesn't have to tell you to think about your wife and child, because there's affection. It's just natural. So what to speak of who we really are, besides the temporary? So who we really are. So it's elevated, but when one is in that elevated position, it's not mechanical. It's spontaneous. Now we're not there yet. So we do the sadhana, and the purpose of the sadhana, when done properly, is purification and reawakening of that which we have forgotten, which means the spontaneous. Then it's spontaneous. So how it's done is to come to the spontaneous stage, not the regulative. But, having said all that, practice and practice and practice and practice and practice, and it moves closer if it's done in the right mood, in the right association, under the right guidance. Then it becomes closer and closer and closer to the spiritual natural tendency. And then the trainer wheels are no longer needed. Trainer wheels means sometimes children get trained how to ride a bicycle with little trainer wheels in the back. I never had that, I just rode a bicycle. But the support of Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti is meant to bring one to the stage of experiencing directly the personality of Godhead within one's heart. We just had this lengthy seminar on Canto 3, Chapter 29, and Kapila Dev says like this, just skipping into one section, deity worship should be done in such a way in the regulative stage with the right paraphernalia, the right procedure, and so on, to the degree where one can experience that the deity form, the expansion of the deity form is within one's own heart and within the heart of others. And that's the power of Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti. Then until that stage comes, it's incomplete. When that stage comes, it's complete. And when that stage comes, it's not like you don't need to worship the deity anymore because, the light went on. But then it becomes spontaneous. So back to your question, the how-to question. You follow with proper guidance the practices, and the practices become more and more and more. The coverings become reduced. That which is forgotten becomes awakened. So then it becomes, you're attached. As you're attached to your wife and child, so you become attached to the Supreme Person because we're part and parcel of the Supreme Person. That's spiritual reality. It's not based upon, who you are in this lifetime. Who's your mother and who's your father and who's your spouse and who your children are, and those are all temporal. It's real. So then how is it possible? That's your question. When Bhava Bhakti awakens, you don't have to wind up the Bhava Bhakta. He's in ecstasy. And it quickly leads to Prema Bhakti. But so there's purification that leads to that stage. That's how. Until then, we practice. And the practice means sometimes not, sometimes not, sometimes not. Sometimes stronger, sometimes weaker. Sometimes steady, sometimes. But devotees like Prahalad, he's Prema Bhakta. He's not sometimes. So associate with such persons, and through the medium of our acharyas, then you get a picture of their heart. And you're associating with them, in differing degrees, because our qualification may be greater or lesser. You just take the verse from Canto 1, Chapter 2. Shanvata Sakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana. You know the verse. Ridyantakso Viduno Trisaritsatam. That's the method. And you just follow the method. You practice. Practice makes perfect. It becomes who you are. Instead of forgetfulness is who you are. Remembrance is who you are. Because there's attachment. We're attached to something. So then by making choices that are in the direction of becoming attached to the Supreme Person, you become attached to the Supreme Person. And you can't forget. You can't even, if you were to try to forget, you can't forget. It's like, tar stuck to your hand. Didn't go away. So that's nice. You don't want it to go away. You want it to become further and further and further and further. And that's one of the beautiful features of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Leela. The final 4 to 5 years were in a state of madness. In the association of those that understood his madness, because they were his eternal associates. It's within us. It just has to become awakened. That's all. Now.
But what about...
But what about what? You don't need a microphone. You got a strong voice.
What about rasa? At what stage does it? At the Bhakti Bhava stage or later?
No, right from the beginning. What does rasa mean? What does rasa mean? It means, there's different English translations of the word rasa, but mellow, taste, another direct word is juice. And so at any stage, there's material and there's spiritual. You know, pineapple juice doesn't taste the same as mango juice. Mango juice doesn't taste the same as apple juice. So there's different tastes of juice. And as there are different tastes of juice, in the material plane, there are different tastes of, you know, people doing things together. Like, you know, alcoholics drink together. And, you know, gamblers gamble together, and business people do business together. So anyway, but there's a taste. There's material. Then there's spiritual. So
novice can experience rasa.
They can. It's part of this intrinsic to the soul. You're attracted to something, and that what attracts you is taste. You know, getting into the airport when you're in St. Louis, there's a lady was, you know, lighting up a cigarette. Huh? And anyway, I paused and was just amazed. She was angry at the lighter because the lighter wouldn't light. She was wanted to puff away, and it kills you. And she has a taste. Toxic nicotine addiction. So it's a taste on the material. So that material, spiritual. So then, how does spiritual taste? You know, that's bhakti rasa. When one gets association of bhaktas, you get some bhakti. So supposing you're just a beginner, but everyone at some point is a beginner. Is there some taste? Yes. Otherwise, how does one continue to day 2, and then day 3, day 5, then, you know, there's taste. And that taste is thin, it's not thick, but by continuing, then if one doesn't make offense, it can become thick, like honey.
Why do some people develop it and some people don't?
Well, you know the answer. You know the answer.
Krishna's mercy?
No, I mean, Krishna's. Because the sun shines, there's light. But you know, sometimes people are hiding under a rock. The sun is shining. Sometimes there's clouds in the sky. Sometimes. So it's the orientation towards Krishna. Our current and past free will choices make it more. You know what makes a spark fall on in the water or on the land or on dry leaves, with the modes of nature. So all those factors. It's not just, you know, Krishna's selectively kind to some and not kind to others. The sun shines. And there are different responses to the sun shining. When I left St. Louis this morning, it was 24 degrees. When I arrived in Phoenix, it was 83 degrees. Krishna's mercy, right?
Maharaj,
Yeah.
I have a question.
Okay.
I was looking at Narasimha Dev's picture and I see there's a flower garland and there are some fruit garland. Like, what fruit is that?
That's an artist.
And what does it mean?
What does it mean?
Yeah. What is the significance of that garland?
What's the significance of that garland?
Maharaj is pointing out the spiritual.
Okay, I've seen pictures of Nrsingadev with garlands. So it's an alankara, it's an ornament, and different artists paint different ways. Sometimes they show the garland of Nrsingadev's or Hiranyakashipu's intestines. You've seen those? So it's an ornament. And he's not in this mood of anger. He's in a different mood because and so he has an ornament that's in that different mood. And a garland is and flowers and this and that. It's alankara, depending upon the mood that the artist views, or the bhakta views, or that and he reciprocates with his bhaktas. He stopped roaring. He was roaring so loud, the demigods were afraid, and the goddess of fortune wouldn't approach him. She said, "No, she said, I've never seen this form," but she's obviously seen that form before because she's with him whenever he's performing his leela. That's one of his leelas, finishing Hiranyakashipu. So she's seen this form, half man, half lion form. She's seen the anger. But so she's speaking that way because Adbhuta rasa, astonishment. So there's different moods, and at different times, so he's exhibiting ornaments according to that mood. That the form of Lord Nrsingadev in Mayapur, Ugra Nrsinga. Just before he pounces, his nails are extended and he's angry. But have you seen that Nrsingadev?
Yeah.
Let me finish the sentence. Have you seen that Nrsingadev on Chandan Yatra? It's a big smile. Have you seen? Oh, you show her a picture. No, but he's actually smiling. But he's got these teeth, he's got these red eyes, and his claws are out, and he's ready to pounce. Just before he pounces on Hiranyakashipu, he's really angry. You'll see.
Thank you.
Different moods at different times. And so the devotees experience and reciprocate, and he is experiencing and reciprocating with his devotees. Both. It's a relationship. And sometimes artists, this is a deity, but sometimes artists just kind of get carried away and they don't pay so much attention. But this is not just a painting, it's a photograph of the deity. You want to hear a nice story? Here's a nice story, and I'm going to end with this. Do you know the story, the reason why this deity was put in the temple? Here's what happened. In the early days of the Sridham Mayapur, there was no Radha Madhava. There was little brass deities on the altar, and they were golden. Some dacoits thought it's not just golden, they're gold. So in the dead of night, they broke into the temple and stole the deities. And there was some guard half asleep, and he heard, and he started making noise, and Bengal and noise. So Bhakti Raghava Swami, do you know him? You've heard his name? He fearlessly ran after them. He didn't have any weapons. They had weapons. So they shot his leg with a shotgun. And now he walks around with half a leg. Now you know who I mean? Bhakti Raghava Swami. He has crutches and a half a leg. One full leg, but his leg was shot with a shotgun. So after, when the devotees started yelling and chasing these thieves, they dropped the deities and ran. So the deities went back on the altar, and the leaders got together and said, we need protection. Not just we need shotguns, but we need protection. So they decided, let's get a Nrsingadev deity. So they got on a train, they found who the best murti maker in certain part of India, and they saw this, one of the devotees in the train ride to go to South India, he had a dream, and this is what he saw in his dream. So he described it to the murti maker. Do you have one of these? And he said, yes, but I've already carved this for someone else, so I can't sell them to you. Then I forget, there's some further detail. He had a dream, and the deity informed him in his dream, I want to be with those devotees. So he called them back, and they came, and there was another fellow somewhere over there, and found out the murti maker was going to sell these devotees to the devotees. So he told the man, don't worry. This deity, if you make a little offense, you're finished. Okay, give him the deity. Because who can worship a deity without offense? And then the devotees came and said, this fellow wanted me to not give the deities to you. This is what I told him, but listen to this. When that Nrsingadev is not the main deity, he, Nrsingadev, takes the mood of the main deity. And your main deity is Radhamadava. So he'll take the mood of Radhamadava. So that, I didn't tell the man that one, because he just was trying to mess up with you people. And I trust you. So he has this Ugra Nrsinga bhav. At the same time, it's not dangerous for the worshippers of the deity, because he Nrsingadev accepts subordinate role to Radhamadava. Something like Balaram takes a subordinate role to Krishna. Something like that. Not the same, but something like that.
So Maharaj, where is that deity?
Where's which deity?
The one the story that you told me.
What's your question?
The Mayapur, she's asking where's the deity
Oh, that's on the altar.
in Mayapur.
Yeah, in Mayapur. The dacoits dropped the deity. So they found the deity. The deity went, the small Radhamadava on the altar, brass Radhamadava. Look closely next time you go to Mayapur. They look golden. They have a golden look, hue. But it's not gold. It's just brass, but it looks golden. Not just brass, but it's, nicely polished and looks golden.
I've seen the deity. I was there.
Well, you look online and he'll help you find.
I saw it in the temple. I was there at Mayapur.
Okay, you'll go again, I'm sure.
It's a beautiful.
Especially after hearing this, you got to go. Yeah.
Ask him if I can go again.
Okay, but before that, you can look at photos and you look closely at the brass chota, because they're used for festivals. When they have Gaur Purnima is coming, so those are the deities that come off the altar. They come out and everyone bathes and performs abhishek to the Utsav Murti, the festival Murti. Radhamadava don't come off the altar. The Utsav Murti comes off the altar. And on behalf of Radhamadava, the Utsav Murti receives the abhishek. But there's all kinds of photos of these deities, all of the deities, the whole. So he'll find.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to end. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.
Swami Maharaj ki Jai. Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Maharaj, for a very nice class. And we'll be continuing this on Thursday at Kevala Bhakti Prabhu and Anugraha Mataji's home. Tomorrow the program is at ASU. So then we'll be continuing the rest of the prayers on Friday, Saturday, 2 programs, Sunday morning, and then Sunday evening we have a Sunday feast class at the temple, and that's going to be about appearance of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu leading up to Mondays.
Probably everybody knows the schedule.
But I'd like to thank Anand Chaitanya Prabhu for hosting today's program. Please give him and his family, his mom and sister a big round of applause. Thank you so much. We'll recite the Prasadam prayers and honor Prasadam. Just a quick note, Maharaj has got Prasadam, and also Maharaj had just landed, and he just had time to change and come out. So Maharaj is quite tired. His flight was a little bit delayed, and so he had just come and came straight here. So I'm sorry we are a few minutes late. I apologize. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much.
Prayer?
Mahaprasade Govinde
Mahaprasade Govinde
Namo Brahmani Vaishnave Solpa Punya Batam Rajan Vishwasanaiva Jayate Sarira Vidyajal Jodendiya Tahekal Jiva Fele Vishay Sagare Taramate Jivati Lobhamaya Sudulmati Take Jeta Kathina Sansari Krishna Vara Dayamaya Kalivare Jivajaya Soprasadana Dilobhai Sri Annamrita Pao Jai Jai Sri Radha Krishna Gunagao Pemenda Kosi Chaitanya Nitai Jai Nimai Jai Nitai Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Radhara Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Bhagavad Navasadam ki Jai.
Since Mahaprasad was Iskcon been distributed, so it's gone.
Yeah, he wants US, no, this is the initiation, but he wants USB to US. I haven't this.
I don't know if you remember me from last time. I was the one who said I'm hopeless and jealous. I was chanting electronics as if it was a chore with no concentration.